When dealing with electrical installations in areas where flammable vapors or gases may be present, understanding the requirements of Chapter 5 of the National Electrical Code, or NEC, is crucial. This discussion focuses on Class 1, Division 2 locations, which are areas where flammable vapors or gases are present infrequently or in small quantities. Article 501 of the NEC provides specific guidelines for these locations. In Class 1, Division 1 locations, the NEC requires electrical equipment to be explosion-proof. However, in Class 1, Division 2 locations, the requirements are somewhat less stringent. Equipment that sparks or creates arcs should be installed outside of Class 1, Division 2 areas or properly contained to prevent ignition of any flammable vapors. Regarding wiring methods for a pump motor located at the base of a bulk storage tank containing motor oil, several factors must be considered. The motor being only 6 inches off the floor indicates the potential for exposure to spilled oil or accumulated vapors. A totally enclosed fan-cooled motor, or TEFC motor, is generally suitable for Class 1, Division 2 locations because it is designed to prevent sparks or arcs from escaping and igniting surrounding flammable vapors. Liquidtight conduit is an acceptable wiring method in Class 1, Division 2 locations. It provides a moisture-tight seal and protects conductors from abrasion, which is essential in an environment where oil spills are possible. A condulet, which is a conduit body used to connect and protect conduit runs, should be explosion-proof if it is installed in a Class 1, Division 1 location. However, in a Class 1, Division 2 location, a standard condulet is typically acceptable if it is properly sealed to prevent the ingress of flammable vapors. For the start/stop station, a NEMA 12 box is often used. NEMA 12 boxes provide protection against dust, dirt, and moisture, making them suitable for use in Class 1, Division 2 locations. However, it is best practice to locate the start/stop station in a safe area outside of the Class 1, Division 2 area to minimize the risk of exposure to flammable vapors. Based on these considerations, the following wiring methods are recommended: a TEFC motor with liquid-tight conduit to an explosion-proof conduit, ensuring that all connections are properly sealed. The start/stop station should be located in a NEMA 12 box outside of the Class 1, Division 2 area, providing an additional layer of safety. In addition to selecting appropriate wiring methods, several other considerations are essential. Firstly, ensure proper grounding of all electrical equipment to prevent the accumulation of static electricity, which could create a spark. Secondly, provide adequate ventilation in the area where the pump is located to prevent the accumulation of flammable vapors. This can be achieved through natural ventilation or the installation of a mechanical ventilation system. Thirdly, train personnel on the hazards associated with the area and the proper handling of flammable materials. This training should include instruction on the use of personal protective equipment such as respirators and gloves, and the proper procedures for responding to spills or leaks. Here's a more detailed look at each component. Firstly, explosion-proof enclosures. Explosion-proof enclosures are designed to contain any explosion that may occur within the enclosure and prevent it from propagating into the surrounding atmosphere. These enclosures are typically made of heavy-duty materials such as cast iron or steel and are designed to withstand high pressures. They are commonly used in Class 1, Division 1 locations, where flammable vapors or gases are continuously present. Secondly, intrinsically safe systems. Intrinsically safe systems are designed to limit the amount of electrical energy available in a circuit to a level that is too low to ignite flammable vapors or gases. These systems typically use specialized components and wiring methods to ensure that the energy levels remain below the ignition threshold. Intrinsically safe systems are often used in instrumentation and control circuits. Thirdly, purged and pressurized systems. Purged and pressurized systems use a positive pressure of clean air or inert gas to prevent flammable vapors or gases from entering an enclosure. These systems typically include a control system that monitors the pressure within the enclosure and shuts down the equipment if the pressure drops below a safe level. Purged and pressurized systems are often used to protect large pieces of equipment, such as motors and generators. Fourthly, non-incendive equipment. Non-incendive equipment is designed to not produce sparks or hot surfaces that could ignite flammable vapors or gases. This equipment typically uses sealed components and special wiring methods to minimize the risk of ignition. Non-incentive equipment is often used in Class 1, Division 2 locations where flammable vapors or gases are present intermittently. Selecting the appropriate wiring method for a specific application depends on several factors, including the class and division of the hazardous location, the type of equipment being installed, and the specific requirements of the NEC. It is essential to consult with a qualified electrical engineer or inspector to ensure that the selected wiring method meets all applicable requirements. Additionally, specific types of wiring methods often employed in hazardous locations include, firstly, rigid metal conduit, or RMC. RMC is a heavy-walled conduit that provides excellent mechanical protection and is suitable for use in both Class 1 Division 1 and Class 1 Division 2 locations. It must be installed with threaded fittings and explosion-proof seals to prevent the passage of flammable vapors or gases. Secondly, intermediate metal conduit, or IMC. IMC is a lighter weight conduit that is similar to RMC but is easier to bend and install. It is suitable for use in Class 1, Division 2 locations and must also be installed with threaded fittings and explosion-proof seals. Thirdly, electrical metallic tubing, or EMT. EMT is a thin-walled conduit that is not suitable for use in Class 1, Division 1 locations but can be used in Class 1, Division 2 locations if it is installed with threaded fittings and explosion-proof seals. Fourthly, flexible metal conduit, or FMC. FMC is a flexible conduit that is used to connect equipment that is subject to movement or vibration. It is suitable for use in Class 1, Division 2 locations if it is installed with approved fittings and is properly grounded. Fifthly, liquidtight flexible metal conduit, or LFMC. LFMC is a flexible conduit that is covered with a liquidtight jacket. It is suitable for use in Class 1, Division 2 locations and provides excellent protection against moisture and corrosion. Sixthly, mineral insulated metal sheath cable, or MI cable. MI cable is a type of cable that consists of copper conductors insulated with a mineral compound and enclosed in a copper or stainless steel sheath. It is suitable for use in both Class 1, Division 1 and Class 1, Division 2 locations and provides excellent resistance to heat, moisture, and corrosion. Ensuring proper grounding is critical in hazardous locations to prevent the buildup of static electricity and to provide a path for fault current to flow back to the source, which helps to trip circuit breakers and prevent electrical shock hazards. The NEC requires that all electrical equipment in hazardous locations be properly grounded in accordance with Article 250. This typically involves using a grounding conductor that is sized appropriately for the circuit and connecting it to a grounding electrode system. Regular inspections and maintenance are essential to ensure that electrical equipment in hazardous locations is functioning properly and is not creating a safety hazard. The NEC requires that electrical equipment in hazardous locations be inspected and maintained in accordance with a written schedule. This schedule should include regular visual inspections, testing of safety devices, and maintenance of equipment enclosures and seals. Personnel working in hazardous locations should be properly trained on the hazards associated with the area and the proper procedures for working safely. This training should include instruction on the use of personal protective equipment, the identification of potential hazards, and the proper response to emergencies. Here's a discussion about ventilation and its role in safety. Firstly, natural ventilation. Natural ventilation relies on the natural movement of air to remove flammable vapors or gases from a hazardous location. This can be achieved through the use of windows, doors, and other openings in the building. Natural ventilation is most effective in areas where there is a consistent breeze or wind. Secondly, mechanical ventilation. Mechanical ventilation uses fans or blowers to force air into or out of a hazardous location. This can be used to provide a constant flow of fresh air or to remove contaminated air. Mechanical ventilation is often used in areas where natural ventilation is not sufficient. Thirdly, dilution ventilation. Dilution ventilation involves introducing fresh air into a hazardous location to dilute the concentration of flammable vapors or gases. This can be achieved through the use of supply fans or by opening windows and doors. Dilution ventilation is most effective in areas where the concentration of flammable vapors or gases is relatively low. Fourthly, local exhaust ventilation. Local exhaust ventilation involves capturing flammable vapors or gases at the source and removing them from the area. This can be achieved through the use of exhaust hoods, ductwork, and fans. Local exhaust ventilation is most effective in areas where there is a concentrated source of flammable vapors or gases. In addition to selecting the appropriate ventilation method, it is also essential to ensure that the ventilation system is properly designed and maintained. This includes ensuring that the system is sized appropriately for the area being ventilated, that the ductwork is properly sealed to prevent leaks, and that the fans and blowers are regularly inspected and maintained. Static electricity can be generated by the flow of fluids, the movement of personnel, and the operation of equipment. If static electricity is not properly controlled, it can create a spark that could ignite flammable vapors or gases. The NEC requires that static electricity be controlled in hazardous locations through the use of grounding and bonding. Grounding involves connecting all metal objects in the area to a common ground point to prevent the buildup of static electricity. Bonding involves connecting different metal objects together to ensure that they are at the same electrical potential. In addition to grounding and bonding, other methods can be used to control static electricity, such as the use of static dissipative materials, the control of humidity, and the use of air ionizers. Electrical equipment used in hazardous locations must be approved for use in those locations. This means that the equipment has been tested and certified by a recognized testing laboratory to meet the requirements of the NEC. Approved equipment is typically marked with a label that indicates the class and division of the hazardous location for which it is approved. It is essential to use only approved equipment in hazardous locations to ensure that the equipment will not create a safety hazard. A hazardous location classification is a system used to classify areas where flammable vapors, gases, or dust may be present. The NEC defines three classes of hazardous locations. Class 1 locations are those where flammable vapors or gases are present or may be present in the air in quantities sufficient to produce explosive or ignitable mixtures. Class 2 locations are those where combustible dust is present or may be present in the air in quantities sufficient to produce explosive or ignitable mixtures. Class 3 locations are those where easily ignitable fibers or flyings are present, but not likely to be suspended in the air in quantities sufficient to produce ignitable mixtures. Each class of hazardous location is further divided into divisions, which indicate the likelihood that a hazardous material will be present. Division 1 locations are those where the hazardous material is present continuously, intermittently, or periodically under normal operating conditions. Division 2 locations are those where the hazardous material is not normally present but may be present accidentally or as a result of an abnormal condition. Understanding hazardous location classifications is essential for selecting the appropriate electrical equipment and wiring methods for a specific application. The specific requirements for electrical installations in hazardous locations are outlined in Articles 500 through 516 of the NEC. These articles provide detailed guidance on the selection of equipment, wiring methods, and grounding techniques for each class and division of hazardous location. In addition to the NEC, other standards and regulations may apply to electrical installations in hazardous locations. These may include standards from organizations such as the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, or IEE, the International Electrotechnical Commission, or IEC, and local or state regulations. It is essential to be familiar with all applicable standards and regulations when designing and installing electrical systems in hazardous locations. Proper documentation is essential for electrical installations in hazardous locations. This documentation should include drawings, specifications, and calculations that demonstrate that the installation meets all applicable requirements. The documentation should also include a hazardous location classification for the area and a list of all approved equipment used in the installation. Proper documentation is essential for ensuring that the installation is safe and compliant and for facilitating future maintenance and inspections. In summary, electrical installations in hazardous locations require careful planning, design, and installation to ensure the safety of personnel and property. By following the guidelines outlined in the NEC and other applicable standards and regulations, it is possible to create a safe and reliable electrical system in even the most hazardous environments. Remember to consult with qualified professionals and stay informed about the latest safety practices and regulations.